We have now ended the confirmation proceedings, and this is a mandatory part of the ICC proceedings. It was introduced in the statute because the state parties wanted only to have strong cases to move forward to trial. And with this decision, we now have the justification in writing that this case, the way it is framed, is strong enough to pass muster before a trial chamber. This is always the case whether it is in the absence or in the presence of an accused. So when he is arrested, the trial proceedings will start. And that means, like in any criminal jurisdiction with a sophisticated law and procedure, like also in Uganda, that we will begin putting our evidence before the trial chamber, hearing witnesses, bringing documentary evidence, etc., and working towards a conviction. Now, this is not a time to lose hope in any way, and I want to say that clearly. I understand frustration because I share the frustration that it is taking so long to apprehend Joseph Kony. And in that sense, like Maria has said also this morning, the wheels of justice do sometimes move too slowly, but they do move. And that's what we're working towards. We are working to ensure that he is arrested and we can move to the next stage. And at the same time, we are working to preserve our evidence. We are continuing to engage with our witnesses. We try to take care of our witnesses. We try to make sure that everything is well organized and prepared so that it can move as swiftly as possible once he is arrested. Now, I cannot tell you when that moment will come, because you also have to understand that it is a very sensitive matter, and we ourselves do not have any police or military that we can instruct to do something, to apprehend him. So we are working with partners. And to ensure that our intelligence that we gather and that we also receive from our partners is not compromised, we have to be we have to treat it very confidentially. Especially when there's a chance of arrest, information leaking out, etc., can compromise such situations. So us not saying anything does not mean nothing is happening. Yeah? But we cannot go into any particular details on how we work. Specifically in this case. Now, maybe I will let Dahiro answer on the question that was posed regarding reparations. But I have a question concerning the last question because I may not have understood it correctly. You seem to have heard that there was an amendment to the warrant of arrest for Joseph Kony. Did I understand that correctly?
That's the question, but I'm sure he may be referring to the charges, or even particularly recently some regulations were amended in the nature of how arrest warrant could be issued. So that is different, unless we.
So yes, okay. There was a general change in the regulations of the court regarding arrest warrant applications and issued arrest warrant decisions. But that was not specific to Mr. Joseph Kony. That is for future arrest warrants in other situations. And that went to the publicity of arrest warrants. The regulations were amended to make it more the exception that we go public with warrants rather than make it, that it remains the exception that they are public. But there has been no change to the warrant of arrest against Joseph Kony at this stage, at all. Okay,
Yes.
Dagiro?
Yes. Actually, to build on what you just said, what Leonie just said about the amendment to the regulation, it basically simply means that for future purposes, arrest warrants won't necessarily be public when they are requested or issued. So for reasons of confidentiality or efficiency, they may be on the seal until such a time that the judge decides to make it public. As regards the question for victims, in the Kony case, whether with these pre-trial proceedings there is any prospect of reparation for them or not. I think it's important to understand, and Leonie has emphasized that the purpose of the confirmation of charge is to make sure that we are on solid ground before moving to trial. So it means when charges are not confirmed, there's no case to answer per se. So this is a preliminary stage where when charges are confirmed, you move to the trial. And the particularity of the process we followed with Joseph Kony, that is that he was absent when the confirmation of charge hearing took place. But the ICC law statute does not provide for a full trial in the absence of the suspect. So he needs to be there. And he needs to be there to answer the charges against him, to also challenge whatever the prosecution is bringing, for the judge to be able, on the basis of the evidence, to determine whether he is guilty or not. And if at the end of the trial process he is guilty, he will be sentenced, and then there will be what we call reparation proceedings for victims to get reparation. What does this mean? It means that between the confirmation of charge decision and the trial itself, there is no room for reparation or providing a particular support to victims. And again, I would like to highlight the fact that the Trust Fund for Victims is the entity within the ICC that is mandated to provide reparation to victims when a convicted person does not have the means. At the same time, as you may be aware, the Trust Fund for Victims has an assistance program which has been actually implemented for almost, I would say, 2 decades in Uganda, where they actually provide assistance to approximately 85,000 people in the whole northern Uganda. So this is just to tell you that for reparation to take place, there is a need for a trial in relation to Joseph Kony and a conviction.